Hi everyone, Ryan here from Fight Game Analysis, and today we are going to be talking about the upcoming fight between Gervonta Davis and Mario Barrios. But before we jump into that, if you've been enjoying the content, please go ahead and click on the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate your support. Alright, so we got a big fight coming up. Gervonta Davis moving up to 140 pounds, attempting to be great, right? 130, 135, now he's moving up to 140, challenging for the belt Mario Barrios. This is going to be a good one. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm a Gervonta Davis fan. I'm actually a fan of Mario Barrios. He's not quite as big, doesn't get quite the hype, but I really enjoy watching the man fight. He's the A side for this fight. He's the one who's getting all the hype. He's the guy who's moving up to 140 pounds. Honestly, if we're being fair, he's the man who's really challenging himself by moving up. So he's the one who's building all the hype for this fight. So let's start out, talk a little bit about Mario Barrios. He's definitely the guy going into this fight that underrated, man. He is underrated, underappreciated. He's got a lot of game. The man knows how to fight. He's been trained by Virgil Hunter for 10 fights now, 10-0 with 9 KOs in those fights. And he looks good. Honestly, what I see in a lot of his game is Andre Ward. And his stance and the way he holds his hands, the small little movements he makes, the way he throws the jab, the way he parries, the way he uses his jab in his left hand to parry an opponent's jab. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the man's Andre Ward. Andre Ward was a great fighter. But you can definitely see how they both study under Virgil Hunter. That's number one. Number two, he's big and strong for the division. I mean, he's big and strong for 140 pounds. And we've got Tank, he wasn't even, in my opinion, he wasn't even big. He was strong for 135, but he wasn't definitely not big for 135. And now he's moving up to 140. So that's also something to keep in mind during this fight. But the other thing that I like about Barrios, well, there's a few things. Very patient fighter. You usually don't see patience in fighters at a guy his age. Very fundamentally sound. Keeps his hands high. Doesn't get off balance. Doesn't reach for his punches. Strong left hand. Uses that left hand. Is very educated. Knows how to jab with it. Knows how to block with it. Knows how to throw hooks to the body end upstairs. And he's got a really versatile game too. We saw him in there against Velasco. He was able to move forward, land a big right hand, get the stoppage. Steps in there against Akhmedov. Showed how good he is with countering. He was backing up, using little half steps, setting a lot of traps, going over the top of the right hand with Akhmedov, turning him and countering him. Some really good, beautiful boxing when you sit down and study the techniques behind it all. Like I said, the man is underrated. And then across the ring from him, you've got Gervonta Davis. I mean, everybody knows about this guy. He's been hyped up for a while. He's over there. He's been training with Floyd Mayweather, so we get a lot of camera time with him, especially outside of the ring. And he's earned it, right? That's certainly, he's earned it. That's what happens when you come out there and you start destroying people. You start landing the big left hand, knocking guys' heads off. Somebody's going to stick a camera in your face. People want to see what see what you're about and hear what you got to say. So we've been watching him for a while. And I'm a fan of him. 130, 135. He's been bouncing around a little bit. Spent a lot of time at 135. His last fight came out against Leo Santa Cruz, dropped down to 130. And now in this one, he's moving up to 140. First and foremost, when you think about Gervonta Davis, the man's a puncher. He comes out there, he's got a big left hand, and he fights like he's got a big left hand. He's strong, very athletic, very explosive, fast hands, good combinations. Good upper body movement when he chooses to use it. Very good timing. All around, he's got everything that it takes. He's got the whole package. Now, don't get me wrong, he hasn't put it all together yet, but he's got it all there. Now, one of the big fights that stands out to me was his fight against Gamboa. In my mind, that was a really big step-up fight for him. Gamboa, coming out of that Cuban system, he was a very well-schooled amateur. He had come over to the pros, a lot of experience under his belt. Now, going into that fight, there was a lot of talk, one, about all of the experience that Gamboa had and how that was going to match up when Gervonta Davis got in there, whether or not Gamboa was going to have some tricks for him that he wasn't going to be able to handle. And the other thing was the stamina. There was a lot of talk about the lack of stamina Gervonta Davis had and the fact that Gamboa was probably going to be able to take him into deep waters and make it really rough. That was the talk going into that fight. I mean, even going into the Leo Santa Cruz fight, there was still talk about Gervonta Davis's stamina and whether or not that was going to be an issue. So it was going into the Gamboa fight. And then as soon as he comes out, one of the things that I loved was in the first round, Gervonta Davis threw almost nothing but body shots. He's like, you think stamina is going to be an issue? You think this older, more experienced fighter is going to be able to take me into the deep waters and drown me? Not a problem. I'm going to start working the body right now. I'm the younger, more explosive guy. I'm the puncher. I'm going to hurt him to the body early. We'll see how much gas he has in the tank as the fight goes on. I love that about him. The other thing that I loved about him when he scored that knockdown in the third round was Gamboa was slippery. Again, he's got some tricks in his bag. Gervonta Davis has a really good jab. One of the things that I'm not a fan of, I don't think he uses the jab quite enough. But in that third round, when he scored the knockdown, he got Gamboa up against the ropes, used the double jab, stepped slightly off to the side to get a good angle before he threw that left hand. That double jab and stepping off to the angle forced Gamboa to move. Gamboa took his defensive movement, tried to dip out of the way of that second jab. And once he already committed to that movement was when Gervonta Davis was able to land that big left hand and he scored that knockdown, right? Like that was a veteran move. The way he used those first two jabs to force him to make a movement and then let the power go. Instead of like trying to force it by being fast or trying to explode or close the distance quick. It was being a little bit more savvy, getting him to move out of position and then throw your big shot. So that was a great one. And then his fight after that against Leo Santa Cruz, we saw him do a lot of good things too, up to and including that last knockout. Great timing, was able to land that big left hand. I mean, that's really a lot of his game, as I mentioned, being a puncher. And he uses it well, comes over the top with it, throws good uppercuts. He can explode from the outside, likes to come in. Once he gets inside, he's kind of rough. He'll work little small angles to be able to get that shot off. Really, overall, works it really well. But the question is, what's it going to look like when these two step in the ring against each other on Saturday night? Man, this is going to be a good one. Like I mentioned, Mario Barrios is a very good fighter. He's underrated. This is one of those fights that, in some ways, it's not quite getting enough hype from the perspective of the challenge that it's going to present for Gervonta Davis. Like I said, he's the A side in this fight. He's the one that everybody's talking about. You watch the All Access. You watch those All Access for this fight that Showtime's producing. Really good stuff. It's hard not to really like both guys when you watch it. But you can tell that a little bit more time is devoted to Gervonta Davis. Like, he is the guy that's moving the needle as far as the pay-per-view, selling the tickets, all of that kind of stuff. So he's the one that everybody's talking about. And I don't think that he's going to, should he come out with a victory on this one, I don't think it will be recognized quite for what it's worth. Because Barrios can fight, man. But we're going to see it when they step in there. Because anybody who's thinking that Gervonta Davis is going to go in there and blow through this guy, they're going to be in for a surprise. Particularly early. I think Barrios is going to give him a lot of trouble. He's taller. He's longer. He's got a really good jab. He's good with that left hand, hooking off of it. I don't think he's going to fall for any of the traps. Gervonta Davis, he doesn't use a lot of feints, man. It's one of the things that I don't like about his game. He's fallen in love with his power in some regards. He's got a great jab, but he doesn't use it enough. He's really explosive and really athletic, but I don't think he hides enough of what he's going to do behind feints and false little movements and the steps that you could use to throw off an opponent's rhythm. I mean, Barrios is really good anyways. So even a guy who uses that is going to find it difficult because he's well schooled under Virgil Hunter. Like I said, he doesn't get over his front leg too much. He doesn't reach for punches. He doesn't overextend. He understands angles and doesn't get out of position. So you have to try to feint him and get him out of those positions and get him to where you want him to be so you can land those big shots. He's not just going to open up for you and make it easy. He's not going to just throw a jab and be lazy about it and let you come over the top and crush him with your power shot. So I think early in the fight, it's going to be challenging for Davis to find opportunities, particularly as the shorter guy with the smaller reach. That being said, the longer the fight goes on, those distances get close. So Barrios has the reach. Davis is going to start to be able to close that. He's the more explosive guy. He's got the faster hands. He's got the faster feet when he wants to use them. He's not using a bunch of lateral movement and moving all over the ring, but when he wants to explode and close that gap and get in there, he's going to be able to do it. He's got the faster feet, and like I said, he's got the faster hands, so he's going to be able to get his shots off. Once he's in distance, he's very accurate with that left hand. He's going to be able to land it. He's probably going to try to get it off as an uppercut on the inside on Barrios' jab, and he'll be able to at times. And he's going to start to come on. My guess would be from the third round on is when you start to see him work. Not that all of a sudden he'll take over the fight or anything like that. I expect this to be a dog fight as long as it lasts. This is going to be a good one. And I think the odds show that. As popular as Gervonta Davis is, as big of a name as he is, he still only came in as like a 3.5 to 1 favorite. I think the line was minus 350. So as big a favorite as he is, as little as people have heard about Mario Barrios, that was still the line. And in my opinion, that just goes to show how much Vegas knows about it and how much the odd makers realize Barrios can fight. So this will be a dogfight as long as it lasts. All that being said, I do expect Gervonta Davis to come out with the win. I think the power is going to be the difference. Barrios has got really good power, but I think his power is built a little bit more off of the timing and the angles and landing the shots at the right time versus just that raw, just straight up punching power that you have. And that's what Gervonta Davis has, and I think he's going to be able to get it off. I think he'll be able to get off to the body. I think he's going to be able to get off a few counters, and that's what's going to make Barrios shut down his game just a little bit. He'll shut down his offense just a little bit because he has to be worried about what's coming back on him. And when he does that, that's going to be what really opens up that extra little bit for Gervonta Davis to work his game. That being said, I do expect it to be a really close fight. I don't expect Gervonta Davis to dominate. I think all the rounds are going to be pretty close. Maybe he'll score a knockdown, though. He might. Like I said, he's got some power. Maybe as it goes late, he gets a body shot, gets a nice counter up against the ropes, and he's able to work something. But this should be a big win no matter what happens for the fans because both these guys are some good fighters. So let me know what you guys think. Is this the way Gervonta Davis moves up to 140 pounds, continues to dominate and build on the legacy at only 26 years old? Or is this the one where all of that hype gets stopped? Mario Barrios shows that he's the real deal and that 140 pounds is, there's just too many big guys up there for Gervonta Davis and he needs to move back to 135. So let me know what you guys think.